Hello everybody, welcome to Negative Balance. Happy New Year. Hope you guys enjoying your time back. My name is Sean. I'd like to welcome the Negative Balance crew.
My name is Christian. I'm an exec in the Business Society Student Association in my third year, doing the law and governance and environmental streams.
My name is Jessica. I'm a third year Business Society student. I'm doing the law and governance and business ethics streams in Business Society.
My name is Fayola. I'm a first year representative for BUSO. I'm a first year student and I'm majoring in business management.
Alright, so I guess I should just mention that I'm also a first year student and I'm also taking a major in business and society, and I guess we should get started, guys. So today our topic is gene editing. So a little background on gene editing. Gene editing is a procedure where a living organism can be inserted, eliminated, or replaced to improve the human DNA structure. So I just want to start off with Christian. Just a little quick question. Do you see gene editing as a benefit or a liability to society?
I definitely see it as a benefit because as it pertains to like healthcare, you can see it eradicate a lot of diseases that are untreatable, such as HIV. Was seen the case in China with the two twins who were born with the gene CC345, and that was turned off, which is the main cause for how the HIVs entered human bodies, and also from like health-wise, I see him as a great advantage.
Alright. Jessica, your thoughts?
You're putting me on the spot here.
Yeah.
Either way, I feel like it depends on the context. Because, for instance, there are certain cases where there's a hereditary disease. So if a child is going to be born and the parents decide that they don't want that disease to be passed on, well, it makes sense for them to advocate for gene editing. But then there are also cases that it practically borders on eugenics, where it's just mostly superficial, and parents, for instance, who just want their child to have blue eyes. Yeah.
Alright.
Yeah.
Fayola, anything to add on?
I agree as well too with what Christian and Jessica as well said. I see it as a benefit for crops and livestock, agriculture, and I also see it as a benefit for curing diseases that, as of right now are uncurable. But there's also like other factors where there's not really a use for it, I feel like for blue eyes or like changing, a person's characteristics. I don't really see the use in that.
Yeah, we're gonna get deeper into that. And Christian, you did mention the Chinese scientist. His name is Dr. He. We're also gonna get to that later on. So another question I want to ask would be, what would be some of the things that scientists could do with this gene editing? You mentioned, I think you mentioned for the crops as well, and you also mentioned about how some people tend to use it for like different features. So like probably getting color eyes or like different physique. So do you want to like talk about more about that, please?
Sure. For crops and livestock, I did some research and I discovered that like for crops and livestock, they utilize genetic gene editing as a way to eliminate pesticides in organisms. That way, it's better for use to eat and stuff like that. For color eyes, they take some certain like genes of of human beings and alter it to change the color of a person's eyes or hair color. But pretty much, yeah.
All right. Very interesting comments, Fayola. So, I guess we'll move on to the next question. So, back to Christian. So, I guess, do you think that gene editing should be just used for health purposes, or do you think it's useful for other aspects?
Personally, yeah, because like if there was a concern I've been like seeing different articles. People like main concern people playing God because it goes against certain religious beliefs and whatnot. Because that's when it becomes like politics come in, and you don't want to merge politics with gene editing. Because I feel like that's a dark hole we don't want to get into. So I suggest you just stick to like health wise, so we can just to treat those diseases that are extreme. And yeah.
I totally agree. I totally agree with you. I feel like also that, some people try to use gene editing for different purposes. And I feel that that was the main reason that the gene editing has kind of been talked about recently. It's for health and how it could really cure different diseases. So I definitely support what you have to say. So, as you mentioned before, the Chinese scientist Dr. He, so he was the first doctor to create the first gene-edited babies. Now, the sources says that he tested on the embryos in order to protect twin babies from HIV infections. So, my question is to Jessica is do you believe that Dr. He had good intentions performing this experiment, or do you feel like that this was something that shouldn't really be tampered with?
Well, I believe the road to hell is paved with good intentions. So if it's based on good intentions that people aim to do anything, then we're not really going to get far. It's a matter of what he has done. I mean, for instance, if you're looking at crimes, you look at what has been done. That's why there's manslaughter and murder. Did the action happen? It doesn't matter what your state of mind was.
Mm-hmm.
So, in this case, I feel it was just a scientific endeavor on his part that he wanted to discover more, and it wasn't really about the health of the babies, because there wasn't anything discussed about how they would be taken care of it in the case that it did not work, or if they even became weaker and actually it would be easier for the virus to enter their bloodstreams. He didn't make provision for any of that, but it was just a purely scientific based thing. But aside from that, I feel like designer babies are not necessarily as unethical as a lot of people say, because a lot of parents still tailor their children to try and be what they want their children to be, regardless of like just stopping short of physically editing their DNA. But then, to what extent can we say someone's DNA is more of an impact than their social conditioning?
Yes.
Because no one really knows what their genetic makeup is. So how do we know that even natural causes or whatever didn't alter our genes? Mm-hmm. But then parents in interacting with their children manage to modify them in some way. So to what extent can we really say that gene editing is unethical on the basis that it's altering people's genetic makeup in some way? Yeah.
Sorry, if I could just intervene. The scientific part. He actually did it because he wanted to make sure the babies were immune to HIV. So that's how he deleted that gene, that specific gene. So in that case, I kind of actually support that. I mean, even though he went against the law, but that we've seen laws be created in the same way, where the rule is broken, but then eventually when they go over it, they realize it's an outdated rule. It's something that we should be evaluated for sure, like as far as ethically, right? And so in that sense, I'm like,
well, yeah, but there are different ways. There are different types of HIV, and he only focused on one type of them. So even if it had worked, they still wouldn't be. No, they are still not immune to HIV. They said they're actually not.
Yeah, I just want to add on too that for his work on the babies, he was facing the death penalty.
Still is, yeah.
Yeah, he was facing the death penalty for his actions. So, I definitely feel like I agree what Jessica said, and I can see where you're coming from, Christian. I feel like for him kind of doing that is kind of against the law, but at the same time he was kind of trying to protect the babies from the HIV. But like you said, there's many types of HIVs, so we don't really know what his mindset was. But you could clearly see, due to the outcome, it caused immediate backlash to the Chinese government. So, I feel like that's a very interesting topic that I just wanted to just point out to you guys.
I feel that the Chinese government is one to talk, because considering they are the ones who had the one-child policy and which led to parents outrightly killing their baby girls, they cannot really come back and say that they care about people's children. So that's very hypocritical. I feel like a lot of countries focus more on the outlook of how they look to the international community as opposed to actually caring about their citizens. They just care about how they appear, that they are progressive, or they care about their children, or they find their citizens, the citizens are their top priority. Yeah.
Okay. So I also got on another source and I heard that they were using gene editing to make super soldiers. So my question to you guys, if anyone's free to answer, do you feel that gene editing is the progress moving forward, being as like the standard of biotechnology, or is it just a short-term phase that will probably last for a couple of years and kind of just be dismissed after?
I think it's here to stay, especially once you, like, that's the thing I was mentioning, where if it becomes anything more than health, it's going to be going in the wrong hands, especially if it comes to military. Because as we all know, each government really, they always invest a lot in the military, and just so they can stay ahead of the other countries, right? So that's very going to be detrimental, and we can definitely see another war breaking out from this. I'm just saying.
So anyone else want to add on?
I also think that it's here to stay as well too. As we progress to the future, there's more technology advancements, and we're getting more into a reality where we can, change the way we look and make things more efficient in a way. So I think it's here to stay, and in a way it helps us evolve, but in the ways that it's done is questionable for me. So yeah.
Okay, so like you mentioned that last part, and it's a way to evolve, but like it's another way. So like how it's determined, how it's done. So is it just like saying like gene editing is like a progress trap? It's like you keep moving on forward only to like reach a conclusion if nothing really turns out the way it is. You don't really progress. Are you trying to technically say that gene editing is a progress trap?
Sort of, yeah, because there's a limited amount of things that we can change and like the result,
Yes. Okay.
Yeah, actually, Shon, thank you for that valuable contribution, because I feel like people have a very linear idea of what progress is. Like, the more you're willing to sacrifice human life, then it seems like that's a form of progress, and I feel like that whole definition of what progress entails, or what technological advancement entails, should also factor in human life.
Another issue that I can see coming from this is the lack of the death of diversity, and because when you can't pass on certain genes, that kind of limitates or redirects mutation in a different way. Because the evolution of man is just different genes dying off for survival, right? And so I feel like we could actually create something that we definitely don't want in that sense.
Okay, that just leads to my next one. So, who do you think is put at risk when it comes to gene editing? The ones who take it, or the ones who don't take it? So, two different groups. Who would you say is more put at risk?
It depends. For instance, as was stated previously, designer babies. In the case of designer babies, the people who do not take it are at risk, because who can afford designer babies? Rich people. So they are going to tailor it to ensure that their children, who already have an advantage, because, like it or not, wealth is like, once you have wealth, you don't really need to have anything else, because you can hire people to work for you. You can afford the best of education, and you can have access to a variety of experiences because you're not bothering about travel costs and such. So in terms of designer babies, for sure, those who don't have access to that, and those whose parents cannot opt in, they are at a disadvantage.
okay.
Yeah.
So I just have another question. This is just basically like your personal interest. Would you ever do gene editing yourself?
No, I would not do gene editing to myself. Basically, because I feel that, everything happens for a reason. So if I was made this way, I'm just gonna stay this way.
So you're pointing to religion.
Yeah.
Okay. That's I feel like that's no. It's just like like there's people like out there who like they don't like believe in God and everything. And I'm not against it. And, I just wanted to point that out because there are people who may like worship another person or like another spirit or whatever. So I feel like because of what you mentioned as a religion, some people might use that to say, well, that's why I do or do not do gene editing. I wouldn't do gene editing too for the same reason, religion purposes. I feel like God made me this way, and if I were supposed to change, it's through God's will.
Well, I feel like in a capitalist society, you should take utmost advantage of opportunities presented to you. But that being said, I'm immensely narcissistic, so I don't feel any need to change anything about myself. But I feel like if this is compared to surrogacy and women opt for the gestation period to take place entirely outside the womb, and they decide that they want your child to be a certain thing. For instance, in this misogynistic society that we live in, the average man is going to grow up to be a misogynist. So maybe a mother will opt for the child to be a girl, so she doesn't have to deal with that. And in such a case, I think that's perfectly fine. So, yeah.
Personally, I think I wouldn't apply it just because I like playing with the whatever I'm handed. And, but if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you a question. Would you, if it was to save your baby, would you do it?
If it was to save my baby.
Yeah, if you had a child.
Well, first of all, I'm not pregnant, but I understand what you mean. I understand because you say my baby. I said like I'm having the baby, but.
Well, I mean, there's technology that.
Yes. So, honestly, like, it depends. Like, I know I would probably say my baby, but honestly, it's like a mixed emotions as well.
Wow.
I feel I don't know.
Wow. Well, let me get this straight. You have a child that you love. Like you absolutely love. This is your blood and everything. But then because of your moral compass or perceived ethical rules that you follow, you would allow your child to die.
You know what?
Wow. Profound.
So just
I would say my baby. I would say my baby.
Yeah. How about you, Phil?
Yeah, I would save my baby as well too, because it depends on the situation, like who's at risk, and if it's someone that I care for, someone that I love, then obviously I'm gonna take the risk.
Yeah, thanks for putting me the hot seat, Christian. Thanks for putting me the hot seat.
Yeah,
I had to start things off. So, guys, that's all the questions I have for today. If you guys want to say any last comments. No? Alright, guys. Well, that concludes our first episode for 2019 on Negative Balance, talking about gene editing. Thank you guys for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time.
Alright.